Hey, what's going on, guys? Kitsune TCG here, and I'm actually back, and I've got a new kind of series I want to try out. Just kind of take a look at different budget builds, from like Rogue all the way up to Meta, where possible. Obviously, it's depending on how budget-friendly a deck can be. Now, this will be for the current TCG format, so with Darkwing Blast coming out later this month, that'll definitely change some things. I'm considering doing it for like past formats like Edison or alternative formats like Common Charity. Just let me know if that'd be something that you'd be interested in. As of right now, it's just really going to be mainly looking at current format decks. Now, I'll be showing off what the max build for each deck looks like, so you can get an idea of where, if you want to get the more budget-friendly deck, where you can kind of expand upon a little bit in the future. And then I'll also show off, if I can, all the way down to like $150. That kind of seems like the perfect little budget range, and that'll be for a main deck, extra deck, and side deck. And just where you can cut and where you can be a little bit more budget friendly, and then the parts that you really need to like consider to spend a little bit extra on, and just where that's important and then where it's not so important. So we're just going to go ahead and hop in. The first one we're going to look at today will be Mathmech, and I'll just kind of showcase, like I said, what the max build is, and then just kind of where you can start making some cuts. Alright, so pulling up the max build for Mathmech, your main deck kind of clocks out at $158.30. The extra deck, led pretty much exclusively by Access Code Talker, is going to be $87.75, and then the side deck is $23.30. So that gives you a total of $269.35. So this will be, like if you don't have necessarily a budget, like what you could expect to spend to get a, I'd say pretty good build. That's kind of what I've been messing around with Mathmech wise. I think these are pretty good ratios. So I think, especially because if you'd be picking up hand traps, so any future deck you play, you'd obviously have these staples on hand moving forward. But yeah, just going from there, the deck would be, like I said, the $269.35. If you were just to remove access code, and you can slot that in with any Link 4 Cyberse monster, the one I would recommend would be Avermax. And that immediately takes you down to $230.35, so you immediately save, $39 just right there. So access code is obviously nice. The benefit of it is to banish link monsters with different attributes in your graveyard to pop cards on your opponent's field. But with Avermax, it's an indestructible monster. It can gain the attack of the opponent's monster, so you're still able to take advantage of that transcode plus update jammer to give it a additional attack. So you're not really losing the additional attack there, you just are losing the ability to pop. So a little bit more vulnerable, but since it is protected against card effects, you are going to still have a pretty formidable boss monster there. So we're going to go ahead and hop over and show a little bit more budget-friendly build with a little bit more budget-friendly hand trap lineup. Alright, yeah, so hopping on over here to the more budget-friendly build. This one, it does use a little bit different hand traps, but they can still be pretty impactful in this current format and the upcoming one. So we cut down the main deck. It goes from 158 down to 102.65. The extra deck, we're going to stick without the access code and leave in the Avermax. And again, like I said, that saves you the $39, so you're down to $48.75. Sticking pretty much exclusively the same with the side deck. I don't think there's really a reason to change it. I don't think you're really going to cut anything and add anything that's better or kind of worth it. I think the rivalries are really good right now. The Duster is the most expensive thing in the side deck, but with the presence of Mystic Mine still, I think the Duster and the Cosmics are necessary, so definitely would keep that the exact same. So that brings the total on this one to $174.70. Now what we've done for this build is we've removed the imperms, just because, there's a playset of imperms right now, even for the super out of the structure deck, is $36. So kind of just opted to add a third Veiler. Yes, the Valor is only able to be used during your opponent's main phase, but that's typically when you're going to be hand trapping your opponent anyway, so there is obviously flexibility with Imperm being able to use it, at any point during your opponent's turn, or any point when you don't have monsters or anything on board. So, that even includes, your standby, main phase, things like that before you've committed to anything. But I think, if you're going a little bit more budget-friendly build, I think the third Valor is not a problem. Now, we've also substituted the other two Imperms with two Ghost Mourners. Now, these can only be used when that monster is summoned, so if they have an on-summon effect, or I guess you can even, chain to the summon to negate it if it has an effect that can activate it after it's been summoned. By the way, it's only able to be used when that monster is summoned, so it is even more kind of niche use, but I think a lot of monsters, when they are summoned, they do want to use their effect, like Gigantic and things like that, so I don't think that's necessarily a problem. And then we've also substituted the 3 DD Crow. Hopefully that gets a reprint soon. I was looking around and I was actually genuinely surprised. I just had a few copies lying around that I've been using for my decks. I didn't realize that even the cheapest common is $8 a copy right now. So we just went ahead and subbed in Ghost Spells. Really, your DD Crow is for obviously anything that activates in the graveyard. That's going to be any like tier limit monster. Ghost Spell is going to hit those monsters as well. It won't remove it from play, so it's not quite as good, but it does still negate the activation. Now, the one issue with that is obviously DD Crow can hit anything, so they are going to be able to chain block. So it's not as impactful, but it still is going to be pretty good, especially because a lot of times they're not hitting multiple tier limit monsters to activate at the same time, so in most situations it's still going to be a very impactful hand trap. Now, if you are trying to, like I said, get down to that about $150 build, there are a few things you can cut. So the first thing you can do is you can cut a third, one of the ashes, take that down to 2, and add in a small world. The ash right now, it's kind of up in the air. So I mean, if you've bought the Crystal Beast structure deck, you'll have some ashes that way. But if you're just getting into the game and you're just trying to purchase it, it's still about a $6 card a copy. It was the thing that I thought you could cut the most out of the main deck and put it in with something that kind of gives you a little bit more consistency. And then in the extra deck, you can take out the Appaloosa. Obviously, it's an excellent card. So I mean, it's definitely worth the $20 price if you're willing to pay it. But you can sub it in for a Nightmare Unicorn, and those are only about 50 cents. So it can give you like an additional way if you set up an IP, to interrupt your opponent on their turn. The one issue with Appaloosa is this deck a lot of times does lock you into Cyberse monsters, so you're not going to be summoning Appaloosa that often, so that's why I think that is something that you can take out of the deck. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, if you have it, or you're willing to spend that money, I think it is still something worthwhile to pick up, because it is just an excellent card in of itself. And it's played in so many other decks, so if you do plan on, playing more than just Mathmech in the future, it's definitely a card that shouldn't get hit on the ban list. It's very, good, but it's not something that's broken, so I definitely think it's a card that, is worthwhile picking up. But yeah, so let me know down below, if there's a deck that you'd like me to look at, if you'd like me to try and make a budget build for. It was definitely very fun to kind of go through and see, what could be done, on a more limited budget, but still kind of offer a competitively viable deck. And I will see y'all next time. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see y'all next time.